The year was 1976. NASA's Viking 1 orbiter was scanning the Martian surface when it captured something extraordinary. An eerie, human-like face staring up from the red planet. And instantly, the world erupted with speculation. Who created this mysterious formation? Was it actual evidence of life on Mars? The very next day, NASA rushed to calm the chaos, announcing that the face was nothing more than a visual trick, and claimed they had another image that disproved the entire thing. But there was an issue. The so-called second photo NASA provided was not real. This raised a disturbing possibility. Is the government hiding something about Mars? Could the structures on the planet be remnants of an ancient civilization? Or was it all simply the optical illusion NASA insisted it was? We're going to uncover the truth together in this episode of Digging History. Welcome.
Look closer, enhance sector
For many
gamma.
years, Mars has been a battleground of arguments and speculation.
My God,
Each new mission and every released image only fueled more debate about whether life once thrived on the red planet. But amid all the discussions, no one expected the photo NASA unveiled in 1976.
Look at the coordinates. They
1
match
year
the
before
Martian
that
structure
reveal,
exactly.
the agency launched two orbiters, Viking 1 and Viking 2. On July 25, 1976, Viking 1 was sweeping the planet's surface, searching for the ideal landing site for its robotic partner. During this process, it snapped the now legendary images that stunned the public. In the famous region known as Cydonia, something remarkable appeared. And here's what made it unforgettable. It looked exactly like a human face. A NASA scientist studying the thousands of Viking 1 photographs was the first to spot it. Curious, he pointed it out to the other scientists around him. There, rising from the reddish sands of Cydonia, was a massive face-like mesa, nearly 2 miles long, with clear features. Eyes, a nose, a mouth. It was impossible to overlook. It looked intentional, yet NASA had a plan. When they released the image, they expected the public to shrug it off as a quirky natural formation, like seeing shapes in clouds. But that's not how the world reacted. Almost immediately, researchers and everyday people began proposing theories. To them, the formation looked far too precise to be a random geological structure. What if this was evidence of an ancient Martian culture? What if someone, or something, had carved that giant monument into the Martian surface? And this wasn't the first time the idea of an ancient Martian race had surfaced. As far back as 1877, Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli documented unusual lines on Mars. He labeled them canali, meaning channels. But the media twisted the translation into canals, and the whole world ran with the idea. If they looked like canals, then a civilization might have built them. The theory was far too big for governments to ignore. So massive resources were poured into new technology to capture clearer images and debunk these claims. In 1965, the Mariner by 4 spacecraft flew over Mars, sending back 22 photographs. But much to the disappointment of scientists and Mars believers, the images were dull. The planet resembled Earth's moon, dry, lifeless, and without any signs of canals or intelligent design. Excitement faded until Viking 1 arrived in 1976 and delivered photos that shattered the monotony of Mariner 4's results. Everything changed when Toby Owens, a NASA scientist, was tasked with identifying suitable landing zones. While analyzing the images, one specific photograph stood out. Image 35A72, the photo of the face. Thrilled, Owens alerted his coworkers. It looked like a breakthrough. NASA agreed that the mysterious formation was worth sharing publicly. But the public reaction was not what they expected. People immediately attributed the colossal face to the work of an advanced species. It seemed NASA didn't want this theory spreading.
The energy signature is
So the very next day, a counter-statement was quickly issued. The following day, Viking Missions project scientist Gerald Soffen spoke to the press with a message that threw everything into confusion. He said, "Isn't it strange what shadows and lighting can do?" When we captured another image a few hours later, the face disappeared. It was nothing but a play of light. But here's the suspicious part. NASA insisted they had multiple images showing no face, yet they never released those images. Where was the proof of this optical illusion they kept talking about? Nowhere to be found. But let's rewind to how the face-like formation was originally discovered. Remember Viking 1, the orbiter scanning Mars for an ideal landing site for its partner, Viking 2? Based on NASA's assessment, Cydonia appeared to be the most promising landing zone. The surface looked relatively level, visibility seemed good, and the surrounding rock formations offered plenty of intriguing features to investigate. Yet only days later, Viking 2 touched down in a completely different place, a barren, rocky plain known as Utopia Planitia. Several scientists involved in the mission pointed out something strange. Utopia Planitia wasn't the planned destination. For a mission designed to detect potential sites of interest or even traces of life, the location NASA chose looked almost deliberately empty. If Cydonia was the superior option, why redirect the landing to such a lifeless region? Was NASA hiding something about Cydonia? The truth? Yes, there was more to that area than their public reports revealed. If you assume the face was the only bizarre structure Viking 1 captured, you're mistaken. Alongside the giant humanoid head were several other formations that were equally astonishing. And topping that list were pyramids. Yes, pyramids. For years, historians have argued over who built the ancient pyramids on Earth. Some credit the Egyptians. Others believe they were constructed by a lost civilization predating humanity, or even by extraterrestrial beings, considering that pyramids worldwide share uncanny architectural similarities despite being separated by continents and eras. But no one anticipated an interplanetary version of this debate. In Viking 1's photos, pyramid-shaped structures appeared scattered across the Cydonia region, not far from the face itself. Even more shocking, numerous scientists acknowledged that these Martian pyramids resembled the ancient ones found on Earth. If the face was a mind-bending mystery, then the pyramids beside it were even harder to explain. They seemed arranged in a clustered pattern, almost like an urban layout. Some people even dubbed the area the city square. Within this so-called city square, most pyramids shared similarities, but a few stood out so drastically that they warranted separate analysis. One such formation earned the name the Fortress. Unlike the others, it didn't look like a standard pyramid. Instead, it resembled the remains of a collapsed or damaged one. And near the fortress sat an even more extraordinary structure, the D and M Pyramid. Named after NASA imaging specialists Vincent DiPietro and Gregory Molinar, the D and M Pyramid displayed characteristics that were nearly impossible to dismiss. This colossal structure possessed a 5-sided symmetry and rose over 1.5 miles tall. To put that into perspective, scientists estimated it was 3 times larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. Hard to believe, right? Predictably, skeptics attempted to shut down the excitement. Despite its striking geometry and symmetry around 2 axes, critics brushed it off as a naturally occurring rock formation. Just like NASA insisted the face was a trick of shadows. But then a professional satellite analyst entered the picture. His name was Errol Torun. Torun took the Viking images on as a personal investigation. Working for the Defense Mapping Agency, his expertise centered on analyzing satellite photographs to determine whether formations were natural or artificial. After thoroughly studying the 1976 Viking images, Torun reached a conclusion that stunned everyone. The structures, including the face, were artificial. This revelation sent the public into another frenzy. Had NASA concealed the truth from the beginning? Torun's deeper analysis concluded that not only were the face and the surrounding pyramids engineered, but the D and M Pyramid appeared to be the most advanced creation of all. He stated, "The geometric natural hypothesis has no mechanism capable of explaining the D and M pyramids' formation. Its five-sided design and bilateral symmetry are unlike any other landform observed in the solar system." To make things even more compelling, the layout of the D and M pyramid and its neighboring structures aligned with sophisticated geometric principles.
It matches the Oseberg
To strengthen their findings,
Yes, but the radiocarbon
DiPietro
date
and Molinar
suggests it's nearly a
recruited two
century
highly
older.
respected researchers. The first was Dr. Mark Carlotto, a specialist in remote sensing, pattern recognition, and space image analysis. The second was Richard Hoagland, an award-winning author and former NASA consultant. With these experts on board, it was time for professional interpretations. And what they concluded about the Martian structures was nothing short of astonishing. Dr. Carlotto and Hoagland observed that the angles of the D and M pyramid didn't just follow advanced geometric laws. Its design closely mirrored the pyramids constructed on Earth. How so? You might wonder. Hoagland explained that the formations in the photographs followed precise mathematical ratios, like phi, 1.618, and pi, 3.14.
Mars, it looks just like a man.
These constants rarely appear in formations shaped solely by nature. This sparked a mind-shattering possibility. What if Mars once hosted an ancient civilization, and these pyramids were the remnants of their world? Think about it. These structures were grouped in a concentrated area known as Cydonia. It isn't far-fetched to imagine Cydonia as a location once bustling with activity, perhaps a region where Martians lived out their day-to-day existence. Even though there is no sign of life on Mars today, the discovery of these complex engineered formations suggests something undeniable. Life might have thrived there long ago. Very quickly, new theories erupted surrounding the revelations uncovered on the Red Planet. When researchers compared the Martian pyramids with those in Giza, Teotihuacan, and Tiwanaku, they noticed an eerie familiarity, not just in layout, but in mathematical accuracy. Scientists began to ask, could the same designers have influenced both Mars and Earth? Some researchers proposed that if an advanced species had visited our planet in ancient times, they might have made a stop on Mars as well. Could the Martian pyramids have been intended as a message for civilizations here on Earth? But of course, NASA brushed these ideas aside. Their official stance was simple. The pyramids were nothing more than mesas sculpted by Martian winds. According to their explanation, millions of years of dust storms carved the terrain into pyramid-like shapes. Skeptics, however, refused to accept such an oversimplified dismissal. The likelihood that nature alone produced such flawless geometry seemed far too improbable. If NASA is correct, and the pyramids are merely natural formations, why do they resemble structures found on Earth with such striking accuracy? And a more compelling question emerges. If they are artificial, then who built them? Thankfully, the D and M team remained relentless. Despite NASA's dismissals, they believed the surface held deeper secrets. To uncover whatever that something more was, DiPietro and Molinar returned to the original photograph that sparked everything. Image 35, A72. At first, tracking it down was a challenge, but after thoroughly digging through the Viking image archives, they found the file labeled simply as head. To uncover the truth, they decided to locate the second image NASA claimed showed the face as a mere light trick. But here's the twist. It was misplaced, completely missing, nowhere to be located. Eventually, they stumbled upon another image of the face, but it did not match the second picture NASA had publicly described. And this newly uncovered image was even more astonishing. The updated photograph displayed far greater clarity, with significantly reduced shadows on the left side of the face. It gets stranger. A close inspection showed that the second image featured two eye sockets, a nose, and a mouth just like the original. But what truly stunned the researchers was this. The face-shaped formation in the second image displayed two parallel sides, each extending hundreds of yards in perfectly straight lines. Even more impressive, the ends of those parallel lines were flawlessly curved. These edges created a clear outline of a face, far more convincing than the photo originally released to the public. And then came the real bombshell. DiPietro uncovered signs of an actual pupil inside the left eye socket. Once again, the scientific community erupted in disbelief. What on Mars was happening? The D&M team delivered the answers. Dr. Hoagland and Dr. Carlotto proceeded to analyze the images, uncovering even more details. They observed indications of teeth within the mouth area and a striped texture around the frame. At this point, NASA had no choice. They needed to respond if they hoped to counter such intricate findings. The research team increased the pressure, demanding explanations. But despite the precise nature of the structures, NASA maintained that the investigators were merely fueling conspiracies. That changed the moment Dr. Hoagland brought the issue to Coast FM, a radio show with a massive national audience. Immediately, public pressure surged, urging NASA to revisit Mars and capture new images of the mysterious formations. And in 1996, NASA did return to the Red Planet.
Are we safe?
In that year, the agency launched another spacecraft intended to photograph Mars again. But the outcome was nothing short of disappointing. Supporters who expected crisp, definitive images were instead met with excuses. First, the lead scientist of the 1996 mission, Dr. Bevan French, went on air with an astonishing announcement. NASA was not guaranteeing that any images would be returned from the observer. Immediately, public pressure surged, urging NASA to revisit Mars and capture new images of the mysterious formations. And in 1996, NASA did return to the Red Planet. In that year, the agency launched another spacecraft intended to photograph Mars again. But the outcome was nothing short of disappointing. Supporters who expected crisp, definitive images were instead met with excuses. First, the lead scientist of the 1996 mission, Dr. Bevan French, went on air with an astonishing announcement. NASA was not guaranteeing that any images would be returned from the observer. Wait, what? Before the public even processed this shocking statement, an even more devastating update followed. NASA abruptly reported that the probe had vanished. With the spacecraft gone, there were no new pictures. Nothing to confirm or deny the analyses of the face or the Mars pyramids. For years, the truth hung in limbo. But everything shifted in 1998. 2 years after the supposed loss of the Mars observer, NASA came forward with a significant development. They claimed they finally had a clearer, more detailed image of the Martian face, just as the public demanded. But what they unveiled left everyone stunned, and not in a good way. The so-called updated photos released on April 5, 1998, looked worse than the first image captured back in 1976. Grainy, overexposed, poor lighting, heavy filters. People joked that the picture looked like it was clawed by a cat inside its litter box. From that day forward, the 1998 release became infamously known as the cat box image. It was obvious these photos were manipulated. But the real question remained. Why was NASA so desperate to make the public abandon the original face-like structure in Cydonia? Why were their statements changing year after year? What exactly were they trying to hide? Is it possible they were covering up evidence, proof, that life once existed on Mars? What most people don't realize is that the face and the pyramids aren't the only strange formations on the Martian surface. In 2002, NASA's Mars Global Surveyor captured yet another bizarre anomaly, a web of perfectly aligned, crisscrossing ridges in the southern hemisphere near Lucas Planum. Something that looked shockingly like the grid layout of an ancient city. It didn't take long before researchers nicknamed it the Inca City. The pattern strongly resembled the layout of Machu Picchu in Peru. NASA, as expected, tried to downplay the structure, claiming it was nothing more than cracked ice formed by cycles of frost over millions of years. But then more
The
suspicious
rovers
structures
confirm
appeared.
it.
Enter the monolith of Phobos. In 2009, legendary astronaut Buzz Aldrin casually dropped a bombshell during an interview. He said, "We should visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object. When people learn about it, they're going to ask, who put that there?" Phobos, one of Mars' moons, houses this mysterious tower-like object towering nearly 85 meters high, casting a massive shadow across the surface.
Findings confirmed?
NASA insists it's just a random boulder, but it looks anything but random.
What does this mean for the program?
And that's not all. High-resolution images from various missions have revealed glass-like tunnels, suspected remains of underground transport routes, the dome, a collapsed curved structure resembling ancient shelter architecture, a rectangular doorway found by Curiosity rover, the towering white spire, a skyscraper-like anomaly. There are simply too many unexplained structures for them all to be coincidences. So, if a civilization really did exist on Mars, what happened to them? Curiosity rover may have found the answer. When it landed in 2012 and analyzed soil samples, it discovered unusually high levels of xenon-129, an isotope that, as far as we know, is only created by nuclear explosions. In other words, there might have been a planet-wide nuclear war on Mars, a war that wiped out an advanced civilization and left behind the monuments and ruins we're now puzzling over. The debate still rages today. Scientists pull one way, researchers pull another, and NASA continues to insist there's nothing to see. But evidence keeps piling up. The face, the pyramids, the Inca city, the monolith, the dome, the White Tower. There's simply too much. And with many structures resembling architecture on Earth, it raises the most shocking possibility of all. What if the civilization on Mars was connected to us? What do you think about these Martian anomalies? Whose side are you on? Tell us in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe for more mysteries.